Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. In the first story, neighbors got a parking ticket on the same day. They had to pay, but it wasn't a lot, so they were happy with paying it in exchange to get their revenge and the agreement for the future to park their cars as usual. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. The parking rules. First things first, this is my stepdad's story, not mine, but nonetheless, my stepdad used to live on a fairly busy but rather narrow road. Most of the people that lived on said road worked unusual times, and so some cars would be parked on the road during morning and evening rush hours. Garages weren't very common in this area as the houses were very small. Now, since most of the residents knew that their narrow road was a fair major thoroughfare, they would all park halfway up on the pavement, leaving enough room for two-way traffic to get through comfortably. This is technically illegal here, but nobody cared as it helped the traffic and there wasn't another comfortable way to do it. Until one day, my stepdad walks outside to find a parking ticket on his car. Up and down the road he looks, and every car has a brand new parking ticket. He got together with some of the neighbors, and sure enough, they all had parking tickets for the same reason, parking halfway up on the pavement. They went down to the local police station and were told that nothing could be done as it was technically illegal, so they'd have to all pay the tickets. So they did. And the next day, they all parked in the road, as the letter of the law says is required. The road was just wide enough that they could legally park cars on both sides of the road in line with each other, which they did, leading to it being difficult to get even one car down the middle, let alone the normal two-way traffic that came through there at rush hour. The next day, a traffic cop came down to ask them to please park halfway up the pavement, as it was heavily disrupting traffic. Cue the parking tickets that everyone kept coming out to prove to the cop that they were just following both the letter of the law as well as the police station's own rules. Apparently, they did come to a more formal agreement with the local police to be able to park up on the pavement, but my stepdad moved away soon after this, so I can't say for certain. I did drive past there a while ago, though, and most of the cars are indeed parked halfway up on the pavement. And our second story. You're lucky I'm on the job, because I would have kicked your butt. I work at a hardware store with a garden department. Said garden department sells bales of pine straw that's in a trailer in the parking lot locked behind a gate. I get called outside to help the guy with 50 bales, no problem. I was on the phone when I went out there with another customer, and when I arrived, he jumped the gate and was inside the locked trailer. I waved him over and asked him politely to get out. He mumbled how he'd been waiting forever and whatnot. TG equals tough guy customer from now on. Me. Sir, you can't be in the trailer, that's why it's locked. TG. I've been waiting for over half an hour. I need to go. Time is money. Me. Yes, sir, I'm here to help. We continue to load the 50 bales without one word being said. It takes around 10 minutes. After we're finished, he proceeds to yell at me. TG. I didn't appreciate you waving me over. From a customer service standpoint, that's terrible service, and you're lucky I didn't kick your butt for the insult. Me. What? I don't think I said anything insulting. I just asked you to get out of the locked trailer. TG, when you were on the phone, which was incredibly rude too, you used your phone to wave me out of the trailer. Me. Yes, well, I was on the phone with another customer, and if that offended you, I can't help you any further. On the second note, I asked you to get out of the trailer because, one, it's not safe, and if you would have tripped on some straw, we would have been liable, and two, you jumped a locked gate, so you're at fault anyways. TG, you better hope I don't come back here after I finish my job and kick your butt. Anyways, after this outburst, but a guy who got mad at me for talking on the phone and telling him not to break the law, I informed my manager of the incident, who calmly called the guy's company and told them we don't want them back at our store anymore, and if we spot that guy, we'll issue a trespassing charge and call the cops. Obviously, the owner was pissed and tried to get us to change our decision, but I don't know what happened next. Here's an idea. Next time you threaten someone at a store, don't wear a shirt with your company's name on it to trace it back to you. Hey, thanks for threatening me with your uniform on. I really appreciate it. And our next story. You want to fire me to save a buck? Go right ahead. So I recently met up with my uncle, and while talking about my major, programming computer science, he told me a story of when he got a promotion, his current position, by getting fired. Several years ago, my Uncle Dan had a jerk of a boss who would always flaunt his status of being a manager to the lower-ranked employees and would always be critical of them for these smallest things. Taking 2 or 3 minutes too long on breaks, talking to your coworker for even a second, or even taking a sip from your water bottle at your desk. My uncle and his coworkers hated this guy, but they loved the job, so they just put up with him for the time being. Uncle Dan told me it was so bad nobody wanted to even interact with him outside of work, and he wasn't invited to any parties or get-togethers either. One day, boss decides to save his money for the company by firing Dan for poor performance and tells him the reason why is because they can hire for cheaper. Now, Dan is a calm and logical man. He's very skilled in programming and has years of experience under his belt by that point in his life, so he knows there would be loads of companies fighting for him. Dan didn't put up a fight about it and just cleared out his desk that day, and a month later, while looking for other jobs, he was called by boss telling him he can get his job back, and when Dan refused because he had a few offers, boss revealed that he was in trouble for firing him with the president. Uncle Dan explained to me that he coded the system they used to distribute assignments and organize tasks, which earned him the president's respect for his skill and expertise. So when he found out that he was replaced with someone who, as Dan put it, wouldn't know his butt from an array, he was understandably livid, especially since he didn't hear about it until just now. So, boss was forced to offer Dan his position and a raise to convince him to come back, was demoted, and was even more ostracized for the way he looked down on people in the past. It was a funny story. He gets fired and then is given an even better position and pay because his boss was trying to save the company money. He still has that position today, and his pay has only gotten better due to his skills. But the boss couldn't stand being on the same level as the lesser employees he mocked, so he's not there anymore. That's karma at its finest. Glad for your uncle. Older employees know more secrets about a company than given credit for. Way to go, uncle. And our last story. Threaten my dog? Curse at my wife? Okay, best of luck with that car. My wife and I had some neighbors who decided to take it upon themselves to be proper jerks. Their list of grievances include parking directly in front of our townhome. For non-US people, a townhome is essentially a house that's in an apartment complex, so houses right next to one another. Each home has a parking spot directly in front of its door, then an extra space in between. Jerk-faced neighbor has 3 cars, only 2 of which work. He keeps the broken one in front of his house at all times. He needs somewhere to park his other car, so instead of doing it 10 or so feet away, he chooses to do so directly in front of our apartment. Not super bad, except for the fact that it's a giant truck with Confederate flat bumper stickers and a lift. It was miserably awkward and usually parked on the curb so as to make it inconvenient to even walk off our porch. He and his wife, more on her in a second, were leaving their house when my dog ran over to them. He just darted out the front door and ran in their general direction. They saw him, hopped in the car, and backed out quickly, knowing he was near their wheels. When I grabbed him, I got the middle finger. Classy as hell. One day, while backing his ratchet pickup truck into the spot in front of our house, my wife comes home. She watches him back up and pull forward 2 to 3 times, trying to park his house on wheels. Of note, he blocks the path, so she really has no choice but to wait, and then she can pass him. After he finally parks, she drives by him, and he takes the opportunity to ask, "Do we have an effing problem? You're staring me down like we have a problem." She just ignores him and walks into the house. Also of note, he's a scraggly redneck. I'm not big and tough. I don't make any absurd threats and the lawn claps or things like that. We just shut the door and laugh. But it's a bit much. So those are obnoxious but largely things we can ignore. The deal breaker for us was when I received some mail. I open it because we've been expecting updated licenses, as having just moved. It's not for us, it's his wife's nursing license. That could cause all sorts of problems for them. Instead, I have our daughter take it over and explain that we opened it thinking it was our license. Cue trashy husband asking a 10-year-old if she stole their mail and telling her he would call the cops. That'll do. For the revenge, they have 3 cars. The busted one that doesn't run, the giant redneck one, and his work car, which has no back door handle on the driver's side. The hole doesn't go all the way through, it just reaches into the door itself. That became my new repository for really anything I felt would amuse me. Cleaning out the fridge, those plums can go there. Cleaning out the freezer, Bagged frozen tilapia also goes there just fine. Frozen shrimp, sure. Old potato soup's a good fit. Hell, let's add a whole bag of old lentils that we don't want. The aftermath. Nothing for quite a while, easily 5 weeks or so. Then one night, I get home and walk by and happen to notice the windows are down in the car. That strikes me as a little odd at the time. We live in Florida and everyone probably wants to use AC. Next night, same deal. Again, it never really dawns on me. Then a day or so later, a knock on the door. It's the cops. Next door neighbor called them and accused us of effing with them. I look out behind the cop and see redneck guy having taken the inside of his door off with an absolute stew of stuff around his feet. The smell then hit me. Well worth it. Sorry, officer, but I don't have time for pranks with redneck idiot. No, sir, I'm a professor. I'm not really about prank wars. A quick, well, if you see anyone around his car, please let us know so we don't have a repeat of this. And the cop was on his way. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.